Wonderful. Now, in a world where change is taking place at an unprecedented pace, businesses need agile, intelligent, and scalable solutions more than ever. And this is where the SAP Business Technology Platform, BTP in short, comes in. SAP BTP is continuously evolving with new features and functions being added regularly to ensure that it stays at the forefront of innovation, such as by empowering your business with AI agents. A very warm welcome and thank you for joining our fifth episode of SAP BTP in 2025, exploring the latest updates. The series is offered by the Global User Group organization. I have the pleasure of having here with me Jochen Schneider. He is head of BTP AI at SAP and as a student leader in artificial intelligence and enterprise technology. He drives innovation as vice president of AI innovation at SAP's BTP. With over 20 years of experience at SAP in roles spanning development, architecture, product leadership, he specializes in transforming cutting-edge AI into practical solutions that empower businesses. And now with this, without further ado, over to you, Jochen.
Thanks, Tania. Thanks a lot, and thanks for the wonderful introduction. So let me see if I can master the first challenge and share my screen. Okay, perfect. Then you all know this animal, probably. Never met it in person or in real, but it's a mammoth. And mammoths actually evolved approximately 800,000 to 600,000 years ago. The bad thing is that most of the mammoths also extincted around 10,000 years ago. Now you can argue, if you're into biology and so on, that probably 3,700 years ago, we've seen still some, but that was just isolated population. Now I can't hold myself, but I see some similarities to businesses, right? We have these big companies, and we really see ourselves as these big, proud animals. We like to be that, right? Strong and all that. But we also somehow fear, and with the rise of AI more and more, we feel the competition, we feel the heat. So we really wonder, okay, what comes next? How can we avoid what happened to the mammoth, actually? And there's one animal that does a lot better than mammoth. It's the octopus. The octopus actually is far older. It's there since 300 million years. If you take the very first species that got in that round, or 120 to 150 million years, if you go for the ones that we still know today, they are really good in adjusting their shape and colors to the ground, to the environment that they have to live in. And with that, the interesting question for us as businesses is, how can we become more like octopuses? Maybe it doesn't look as sexy as a mammoth, but nevertheless, that as it is still here and as it is so old, it's probably something that we want for our businesses as well, right? We want to thrive into the future. We want to exist there. So let's see how we can make a rapid transformative impact a reality and not just talk about it. I'm Jochen Schneider, as Tania said. I'm heading the BTP AI team. It's a wonderful team that tackles a lot of AI challenges directly on our business technology platform. And without further ado, let's have a look at the agenda. I will talk you through some topics like AI first, suite first, what's up business AI. And yes, I know, AI first, suite first, two things first, that doesn't work. Let's talk about that later. I will give you a very high-level overview of the BTP AI roadmap, or at least of some highlights that I see there. I want to dive a bit deeper into self-optimized software engineering and what that means for us and what probably the future holds. Then going really deep into AI agents and the future of AI, what is also agent-based. So let's have a look how we do with our business AI portfolio. Within SAP, we actually span business AI across the entire portfolio. What means it goes from ERP to finance, supply chain, customer experience, procurement, human resources, IT cross functions, you name it, you get it. So across the entire business portfolio, we integrate and span business AI solutions and capabilities. We do that by focusing on respective roles, on individual functions or teams, like the CFO, the COO, the CIO. I don't have to read it all. The advantage is when we do that we think about processes holistically. And as you can imagine in real world, it does not work that a CFO does a great job without connecting with the COO or the CIO and so on. They have to talk to each other. So we have to focus on roles, but we also have to enable that it is well integrated across the different roles. And that's how we approach the entire AI capabilities and the stories. So we want to make your organization run better by focusing on key areas where you can benefit from business AI. What goes from processes to supporting the individuals that actually work within your company to become more efficient, to the technology. So it's important that you have one technology stack that really empowers it all and also makes you feel safe. And I just learned that the last session was about BTP Foundation. So probably you learned already a lot about the tech stack. But let's have a look at how do we take it from AI first and suite first, from an AI perspective across the portfolio. So we at SAP think that we are uniquely positioned as our portfolio is highly integrated. And you could actually argue it's a transformation engine because business applications aren't siloed. They are integrated across every process end to end. And we ensure that every action taken within these applications generates trust as it has your business critical data at its source, right? It's really important that we generate trust, that you trust in us, that you can be sure that everything is safe and works as expected because you run probably your most critical business solutions for that. So we centralize, harmonize, and enrich then the data that you especially have in the SAP Business Data Cloud. And by contextualizing it further, making it reliable, accessible, this data becomes the fuel for advanced AI-driven insights, right? We hear it everywhere. Data is the new fuel. Finally, it's not just data, right? It needs to be high quality data. You need to have it in the right place, and context is everything. So we go beyond basic automation. With Joule, our AI co-pilot, employees can actually orchestrate intelligent agents to collaborate across functions. This breaks them down silos, driving real-time and cross-enterprise optimization. So where others maybe deploy AI in pockets, we really aim for unlocking value and resilience at scale. So this is what SAP makes very different from my very own perspective. And we bring it all together. So we bring the business application together, the data and AI, like you've seen never before, right? In a way of AI just entered with GenAI, completely new possibilities on the tech stack. And now we need to bring it into business. So that's what we're aiming for. So let's have a short look on how that works from a portfolio perspective on the different levels that we have. And starting on top, you see that we have Joule, our conversational AI interface, and Joule agents that work across the entire value chain. It's available in every product to serve AI functionality to actually our users. So below that level, you then see AI capabilities that come out of the box, embedded in the different solutions, in the different business applications that you have. Even more important, besides that, on the same tech stack, you can run your very own custom AI capabilities. So that helps you to benefit from everything that we have in the standard side, everything that comes via Joule on top, everything that you have on the base layer, just by building your very own solutions there. leveraging the same functionalities that we leverage for our standard agents, for our Joule agents, for our standard embedded AI capabilities. And with that, you have to trust that, hey, it works all reliable, it's all connected, and that should be that should give you an advantage why you actually do custom code there to really drive the stuff where you differentiate from the standard, because it makes you unique as a customer. Highlights that I see on this portfolio in particular. So especially when we look on the BTP and what we have there as AI capabilities, in addition to the business AI capabilities that you've just seen. So the things that you can use to build your custom solutions is, on the one hand side, the SAP agent builder within Joule Studio, what will be available in Q2. And that helps you to plan, to self-reflect, and do everything that you need for an agent. We get into the details later on, right in your build environment. Right, Joule Studio as part of build now comes with these agent builder functionality. Then we have Joule for developers to really enhance your developer efficiency across the entire portfolio. So if you do ABAP or if you do Node or whatever, CAP, Joule for developers is for you. It's in that build, and it really helps you to gain more efficiency when building business applications. Then we have the AI foundation, of course, where everything sits at its core. We have the knowledge graph engine, something that I find very powerful, and I still think that we have to educate a bit better on that, because there's so much power in it. Just assume that agents or AI, generative AI, is very good in interacting with natural language. Now, interacting with business data typically happens on tables. AI is not good in working with tables if it is not narrow AI. So the knowledge graph engine actually gives you a possibility to generate knowledge graphs based on top of your information, based on what you have, and make it accessible via natural language. So make it easier accessible for all the AI capabilities you have. And then finally, it's all nothing worth if you don't take the burden to actually get started, to take the initial hurdle and get ramped up. So we need to have the generative AI toolkit to kickstart your GenAI app development on the BTP. Let's go a bit deeper. Now, I already told in the introduction that I'm really into, or when we went through the agenda, that I'm really into the topic of self-optimized software engineering, especially in the context of enterprises. It's something that keeps me busy all the days thinking of. I still think that it will take a while till we are there, but it's a very interesting thought, and to look into the future, how we can get there. And when you start doing so, you see a few things already forming, few bubbles that I see that line pretty well up into that direction. So we will see more and more things playing together, going into that direction, and helping you to actually make your developments, especially in the enterprise context, even more efficient and effective. So the GenAI starter kit. I said it's all nothing worth if you can't start easily and quickly. So that was why we said, okay, how can we ensure that there's no cumbersome process, but rather a really quick start into this AI topic? We want to have, or we had the vision of, hey, give developers the chance to kickstart their GenAI development on the BTP, instead of having to manually create service instances, set up the AI core, the HANA cloud, call various AI core service APIs to be able to use the necessary AI models. A developer just calls now GenAI starter kit, and after a few minutes, everything is set up to start the first experiments with AI, maybe with RAG patterns on the BTP. So as a result out of that, you have a fast, efficient provisioning of GenAI relevant infrastructure on the BTP. It's accelerated development of common enterprise RAG applications on BTP, because it comes with some examples. And then, of course, you have enterprise-grade foundation for compliant and scalable GenAI initiatives. What is more important than ever if you look at what's going on in the world? Let's get a bit deeper into that. So what does the GenAI Starter Kit actually do? Where do we start? We start with provisioning the necessary infrastructure components on the BTP. So with the GenAI Starter Kit, we automate the setup, making it fast and repeatable, and no cumbersome configuration clicking. Okay. It's simple 3 steps. How to do it to be ready to code on the BTP. First, we set up the necessary infrastructure with Terraform scripts. So Terraform scripts are used to provisioning the AI core, Launchpad, and HANA Cloud. Then, second, you're using the AI core API, and we create a configuration and the deployments needed to call the LLM's inference API. As a result, we create a file with all the variables that are needed to use LLMs and HANA Cloud as a vector store. Third is the last step. We demonstrate an example RAG application, so retrieval augmented generation application on the SAP stack. This is just an example. For simplicity, we do it all in one single script, ingesting data and generating the answers on the user query. And in real application, you would normally decouple these and separate steps and so on. But let's not go that deep into the technical things. Let's rather have a look at how does that work in the system. Now, GenAI Starter Kit, it's open source. So you best start, if you're a developer, you best start by clone the repo, clone the repository. We recommend opening it in a dev container, as it has all prerequisites, including the Terraform CLI installed. Then second step is you set the values for the configuration parameters. There are 2 files that you have to rename in that manner, and you add your email address to the variable admins. First step. That's easy, isn't it? So what's next? Next step is let's set up the infrastructure on the BTP. So in the terminal, simply type /run.sh and enter your BTP password, as well as the password for HANADB when you're prompted. The starter script will now set up a few things for you in your SAP BTP global account. It creates a SAP account with the name that you have configured in the file. It creates service instances or subscriptions for the following services. So SAP AI Core, SAP HANA Cloud with integrated vector engine, SAP HANA Cloud Tools, app subscription, and then deploys AI models for your GenAI experiments in AI Core. Lastly, it creates one more file that contains the connection details to all above services, and that will be used by the examples. Then already the last step, finally, you're just all set for your GenAI experiments on BTP. You can proceed by switching to the example folder, and there you find some examples with respective instructions and sample code for a naive RAG scenario on SAP BTP, an advanced RAG example, or how to use multimodal models on the BTP, how to do RAG on SAP BTP with structured and unstructured data, and also how you do multi-model RAG. So you find quite some examples to kickstart your project and your GenAI development or experiments. It all typically starts in that field with experiments right there. It all takes you less than 10 minutes. So I just encourage you, go there, try it out, and see how it works. First step. So we say, okay, to make this entire development experience, the software engineering experience for GenAI really pleasant, lower the entry barrier. That's it. Use the GenAI Starter Kit and get started. Next, something that I really like, because I run a team with quite a few software engineers and developers, and we all like the following. We all have CI/CD pipelines where we ship code, right? So As more we have in there, as better it is. And if it looks green like this, you all like it. Very easy, very powerful, very cool. Now, if this appears, then we have easily 10,000s of lines of log files, and we need to analyze and find the error log and need to see, okay, what's causing it and how to fix it. Now, within our team, that means that especially the not so experienced developers need to run to a senior developer and actually asking, hey, can you help me with do that? Because they typically spend far too much time if they do it on their own. So they need some advice, they need some help. If you have a team that scales up pretty quickly, and if you want to have more people in the development, that can be easily distracting your senior developer from delivering what they are working on. So how can we help there? And I mentioned it in the beginning, we talk about agents later, but we build up this pipeline agent. As we were building the agent foundation, my team came with the idea and said, hey, you know what? We're always answering from the senior perspective, we're always answering the same questions. We always do the same things when we go into the log files and try to identify what it is. Can't we do that with an AI agent? So they came up with the idea, let's do that with an AI agent. Now, let's look what that means. The project agent builder, I mentioned it as part of Joule Studio, is actually where you can develop AI agents as soon as we have it delivered. Then AI agents for DevOps is one example for a multi-agent system that implements agents and then fixes and troubleshoots pipeline issues. So we have two agents running that actually work together. One is to investigate and find out what the error is and how to fix it. And the second is doing the fix. So the vision is that our DevOps experts are not replaced, but actually augmented by this AI agent and have more time to focus on their coding work, on their conceptual work, while we have the AI agent doing the stuff that actually no one wants to do, fixing pipelines. I think most of us don't enjoy that. So how does such an agent work? So we want to have a few key features: automated issue resolution, simplified DevOps process, improve DORA metrics by automating issue resolution. It helps improve DORA metrics such as deployment frequency, lead time of a change, mean time to recovery. Becoming more like an octopus, right? More adaptable to things that happen. And then, of course, it frees up developer capacity. I already mentioned that. So when we look at how that works, we see that it all starts on the left-hand side within GitHub with a pull request. That triggers, in our case, SAP internally, a pipeline, and we have an extension for that transfers the log to Piper, and there we have the investigation agent sitting. So the investigation agent gets triggered, there's a log change, looking at the log, analyzing it, finding an error, going back to GitHub and in the same pull request, commenting on, hey, there's something wrong. Then it triggers the fixing agent, and the fixing agent takes over and fixes it. So to be able to do that, the agents need to be equipped with tools. That's the upper part on the right-hand side. So tools are, hey, we need to be able to overwrite files. We need to have access to file trees. We need to have access to the pull request and the differences. We need to replace a file. We need to change trees. We need to read file. So all these kind of tools actually make the agent. And that's what needed. So if we look into the details, let's look into the details how that works. In this case, we take a simple cache implementation, right? We see that here the pipeline build actually fails. So what happened? We have we just added a few things for the cache implementation. Something went wrong when the build happens, and then it breaks. So now, as this build fails, the investigation agent checks the log, sees the trigger, hey, the build failed, and now starts investigating in what happened in the pipeline, what is in the logs, and starts working. And it starts working within the pull request with the developer. So you can always go back and forth, because human in the loop is something that is really important for us at SAP. We want to make sure that there is no critical decision taken by a system without a human to understand what's happening. That's why we also implement on the agent side functionality to really understand what was happened step by step. Which steps did the agent take and what was done there? So as we see here, it went through several steps, and then finally it came up here. We can open every step and see what happened, but let's look at where the analysis of the code is happening and the fix that it suggests. So the agent had access to all the tools, looked at the pull request, checked the logs, found an error, analyzed the error, then thought about, okay, how to fix it, and makes a suggestion. Is that a hard word? Suggestion for the fix. So that fix now gets back into the pull request. Here is the fix, right? We can see it. So as a developer, I get informed, hey, there's an update, new comment, suggest a fix, and I just give it a thumbs up and say, hey, that's good. That's the trigger for the fixing agent. As soon as the thumbs up comes for the suggested fix, the fixing agent gets into the game, looks at the code, looks at the suggested fix, and actually rewrites the code to make that happen. Then it walks through everything. It said, okay, I have applied the fixes. Now let's have a look into the coding, how that really looks. We see there is some code changes happening. We can review it so that we really understand, okay, this is how the agent changed the code. I can still do manual changes if I want to. And then I say, no, it's all fine. I go for another build and I see it's green now. So finally, pipeline fixed. That's how we use it internally. And that's impressive or interesting, because you see that, hey, as we started building on this agent foundation, we actually spotted an issue in how we work and already thought about how can we improve that? How can we improve this part of work? And how can we just do better and get rid of this mundane manual tasks or discussions that we don't want to have? So how can we gain more efficiency? And that was then how the team came up to it and approached it and said, okay, let's see what we can do with AI agents as we're building the foundation. Let's build on top of it. And I expect much more to come there. So just as an inspiration for you, there are probably much more things that you have, especially if you're a CIO or if you're head of your IT department, that you immediately can resonate with, hey, that would be good. It becomes possible as soon as the agent builder is there. So let's have a look at how AI agents are revolutionizing enterprise and get a bit deeper into what is an agent, right? I just showed you one example, but let's look into it. If we have an agent, then we need to understand that this agent actually is made up of a few different things. I always like to compare it with, take a child, and you say, okay, if you want them to do something, you need to give them instructions first. That's what we do with the prompt template for the agents. Then if you want them to do those stupid things, they need to really think about it, right? They need to understand what you're actually asking. So planning and reasoning is how that translates into AI agents. And that's what they do with the help of large language models or reasoning models. Then to be able to execute on it, probably you need to have some tools, right? For the kids, you need to have your hands, you need to have your feet, your eyes, your mouth, whatever the task demands. And that's what we need to equip the agent with. Like you've seen in the example before, we need to give it the possibility to read certain files. We need to give it the possibility to write code. We need to equip it with a tool to get access to my GitHub pipeline, all that kind of things. And then, of course, when we do that, we also want that over time they learn, right? So they should better have, the kids definitely have a short-term and long-term memory. Now, we need to make sure that the agents are having that as well. So I don't want to explain the same thing twice or more than twice for something like an AI agent. I'm a bit more okay with Michael's there. I'm happy to explain it more often. But nevertheless, for AI agents in business, there's no point in doing that, right? So we really want to make sure that they learn over time, and that's why they need to have different memory possibilities as well. Now the question is, why do we need AI agents at all, and why is AI agents really something different? And I really try hard to convey that message that AI agents are not deterministic workflows. So I like to do it with this kind of analogy that you see on the screen. What we have today in our enterprises is we created key processes, very big ones, like the rails. And we have all the trains going there, back and forth. That's important, right? We need that. It's the backbone of our enterprise. And that's pretty valid for most of the things that we do, especially when it needs to be 100% precise and when there is no need to adapt. So certain things are always going the same way, right? Getting an invoice and paying it, always the same thing. But when it comes to a few things that get into the way of the rails, we probably need to be more adaptive. And if we look at electric vehicles, self-autonomous driving vehicles, we see that they are also following a road, but they're much more flexible. If there's something gets into their way, they can just take another lane, they can go fast, they can go slow, they can take another route if there's a traffic jam, but they finally come to the same destination, right? So that's how you need to think about traditional processes and deterministic workflows versus agents. Make sure that you use deterministic workflows where really needed and where you really can be sure that, yes, a railroad is perfectly fine. And be also sure that when you talk about agents and when you go for agents, that you don't use them for the sake of being hip and having an AI agent, but rather use them for the scenarios that are more complex, for the scenarios that need adaptation, and for the scenarios that really benefit from, okay, I want to go there probably in the fastest way, and I don't know exactly what happens on my way there. Might be that I can't read the invoice, that I'm missing some information, I need to get that all in. And then I finally want to reach my destination, want to get to my goal. So that's how we can see it in the comparison of rails and trains and autonomous driving vehicles. So keep that as a metaphor. It might help as a mind model to think about, okay, what is the good agent case? And it does not mean that we don't need any rails anymore in the future. We just need to have an additional, more flexible and adaptable lane as well. Okay. Then I said it. For agents, we need to have key capabilities. They are able to plan. They are able to reflect. They are able to use tools, and they can collaborate. So also here, going back to the autonomous vehicles, it's important that they can talk to each other. They need to recognize each other, the one or the other way, right? So that's the same. As soon as you start having one agent, there's probably a second agent. And if there is a CFO agent or an agent that supports any kind of function within the CFO area, and you have another agent that supports a function in the COO area, same as it's important that the humans talk, it's important that the agents talk. They need to understand, right? They need to understand the business context, and the value that you can get out of it is as bigger as more business context you have. And then the business value is all about automating business tasks, like the one with the pipeline, but also augmenting business decisions. So when you make a decision, agents can be a great tool to get more information, collect information from different sources, make up some options, come up with a proper reasoning, and really get you into a thought process of augmenting your decision making. So finally, once again, it's not about getting straight from A to B. That's how we are used to run in the past, right? That's how we run our processes still today, the majority of it. We have an input structure and a defined goal. And when we fill the input structure with the right data, we run through the process and we derive at the goal. That's the left side of the picture. if you think about the right side and what comes into the game with agents, we need to think very much more dynamic, and we have a different kind of problem solving. Because what we enter is not an input structure that is always the same, and then you arrive at the goal. What we enter is actually the description of the outcome that we want to have. And we don't care about the process in between. We don't need to know that when we enter the process. The agent will determine it, will find out themselves. But then you arrive at the goal. So you arrive at the described outcome that you put as an input. And that's a complete mindset shift to the way how we think processes, how we think of how can we come from A to B instead of thinking from how do we come from A to B to do this and this. It's really about starting with the end in mind and saying, I want to reach this. And I give that in, and then I leave it to the agent to find a way to get there. So that means that if we look at it, we see that agents will take different routes. It can vary, and it can be many. But finally, they reach the outcome. The outcome that we gave as an input. And they can do that on multiple routes, multiple ways, multiple layers. So that's why I said it's not made for every scenario. If you need to have a train, go for the train. But there are plenty of scenarios where it really makes sense to say, hey, I just need to have it done in that way. And how we get there is totally fine if the agent finds out, determines as it runs. So it involves uncertainty or into dynamic situations, right? Now, for SAP, that means we are infusing Joule, our generative AI copilot, with collaborative AI agents for every core business function, including supply chain, procurement, finance, HR, and more. And I would say, think of Joule agents as highly efficient virtual coworkers that work together through complex processes and tasks. I tried to explain it before. And thanks to our fully integrated approach, we are in fact designing a system of collaborative agents that work within and across the SAP business suite to support every business function, right? CIO, COO, CFO, and solving more complex business challenges and driving cross-enterprise productivity by doing so. So it's all about getting work done, start to finish. And at SAP, again, we aim to deliver the solution out of the box, and we're uniquely positioned for it because of our deep expertise in business processes and key innovations that infuse Joule agents with unmatched understanding of business processes, access to all the most relevant and contextual rich data in your enterprise, and the ability to take action in every corner of your business, right? So it's really going across, and it plays all together. It puts all the different parts that you have within your SAP ecosystem and makes it even more powerful with Joule and now with Joule agents. And the ability to build your custom agents on the same platform with the same technology in the same manner. So with that, you're uniquely equipped to solve bigger problems, right? The agent builder will make it simple for business users to create custom Joule agents. It's a guided workflow informed by SAP's business process expertise. And it helps to ground your custom AI agents in business processes and data, allowing them to solve problems through autonomous actions across the customer's SAP and non-SAP applications. And with the unique foundation that I already mentioned with Joule, ready to use Joule agents, SAP Business Data Cloud, and SAP Knowledge Graph, all sitting on then the BTP, you have the HANA Cloud with the vector engine, with the Knowledge Graph engine. So it comes all together and plays very nicely into this entire story of, hey, how can I make my agent really able to tackle the big complex problems where a train or deterministic workflow is not sufficient? Now, we have Joule agents, again, across the entire SAP portfolio. And you also see that they benefit from the 1,300 pre-built Joule skills that we already have within every core business application. Then it's really to complete high impact work, right? We said, for us, agents, it's not about doing the easy stuff that you can do with a simple workflow. It's for the complex things. It's for the multi-step cross-functional workflows. It's for everything that you can't foresee at the beginning. You can really benefit from the power of the agent. And then the entire access to the portfolio. The business technology platform as the foundation for it. The business data cloud on top of it. Around it, we have the cloud ERP with all the different business applications. And then you see the agents for the different functions. And around it, we have Joule and Joule agents as the layer that makes it all integrated and accessible end-to-end for end-to-end business processes. So with that, you can actually move faster, take better actions, and your team can focus on even more high-value work, right? The creative parts, the things of everything that typically needs more than 10 minutes, 20 minutes of thinking time. You get so many distractions throughout your day that it really, really helps if you have agents that do these parts and free up more time for me to think, so that your people really can focus on, okay, what is it? How can we become even better? What is the next big thing that we want to develop, that we want to get out of the door? Just think back of the example that I gave you of my team. They thought about how can we ship more capabilities for the agent builder by getting rid of the mundane task of analyzing logs in the CI/CD pipeline. And that's just the starting point. Now, let's have a look at the demo and how that works. So how can you create custom Joule agents?
Creating custom agents tailored to your organization is now straightforward using Joule Studio in SAP Build. For example, imagine your business is growing and you want to renegotiate supplier contracts for increased volume. How about creating a new Joule agent that will develop a strategy to support you in your negotiations? Let's walk through the steps to create a new Joule agent from scratch. In a first step, we describe the purpose of this Joule agent. Joule will guide us through the process. We want the Joule agent to help procurement managers develop a strategy to negotiate better pricing and terms. Next, our Joule agent needs a name. Here are some suggestions, and I can generate even more. Let's call it the pricing negotiator. Joule then takes us to the build page and fills out the basic information. It analyzes the description, and from this generates an avatar and a banner image. Cool. We're ready to walk through some steps to onboard our agent. We set the bounds of the agent's role in the business by assigning it to a business process. Joule uses SAP Knowledge Graph, which encodes SAP's decades of expertise in business processes to suggest the correct sub-process within the source-to-pay process. That looks great, so let's continue. Joule agents can do more complex tasks through collaboration. That's why we want to connect our pricing negotiator to other agents. Here, you can see some suggestions, and all of them look great, so let's add them. I check out the AI team, and all agents I added are there. Additionally, you can add third-party agents. I want to add Microsoft 365 Copilot, so I search for it and then add it to the team in just one click. Data is key to ensure our Joule agent is grounded in business context. And thanks to context provided by SAP Business Data Cloud and SAP Knowledge Graph, it's simple to identify and add the most relevant data products. In this case, contract, invoice, payment history, and more. If I want to add externally sourced information, such as third-party benchmarking, this is straightforward. I just search and then add it. Next, we want to equip our agent with the tools it needs to take action in our business applications. We want to give our price negotiator access to the functional library of Joule skills, such as invoice management and supplier search skills. I will accept these. We need to define when the pricing negotiator will be active, and this is done via triggers. We have multiple options here. The default is calling it directly from Joule, but we'd create a schedule or link it to another process. I'll accept the default for now. Joule agents work in collaboration with humans, so here we define how they'll interact with employees. As we all use Microsoft Teams, I'll set that as the primary communication channel. Up until now, we have focused on giving our Joule agent the business context it needs to do its job. Now we need to equip it with an aptitude to apply that context to create sourcing strategies. With all the information we've provided so far, Joule summarizes its understanding of what the agent will do. This is in the form of key objectives and the tools that it will use. If required, we can add additional constraints. For example, if a supplier has deliveries overdue more than 90 days, we will not negotiate with them until the deliveries are resolved. Now we can decide if we want to use a reasoning model. Reasoning models will help the pricing negotiator make more nuanced judgments for better performance. And that's a clear yes. I can further configure the reasoning model, but for now, that all looks good. That means it's now time to test the agent. Joule takes me to the test mode page, and I'm going to type in a test prompt. Our Joule agent starts to reason, plan, and act using all the business context, tools, and other agents as needed to decide on the best strategy. And just like that, here's our negotiations plan. And this is excellent. I can see the information provided by the RFQ, key negotiation tactics, risks, and even alternatives. And right at the end of it, there's a concise summary. And that's how easy it is to create custom Joule agents that help your teams work better and your business operate more efficiently.
So, as said, in the beginning, we unlock value for your business everywhere with SAP Business AI and with now the Joule agents on top of it. That means that you will see Joule agents over time for every function within your company. Right? And the question is if it is one agent or if it is a team, but finally it's all about, you will see it across the entire portfolio. That's where the magic happens. Now, let's have a look at one final quote that I really like to understand how we should see the future of artificial intelligence. And it's actually Fei Li from Human AI in Stanford that said, the future of artificial intelligence is not about man versus machine, but rather man with machine. Together we can achieve unimaginable heights of innovation and progress. That's exactly how we need to see the agents. That's how we should approach the entire GenAI or AI future, at least from my perspective. And with that, I would say, let's become more like an octopus and let's see if we can equip the octopus with a few tools to move even faster and become more future heading. So with that, I'll open for Q&A, I guess. Tania.
Great. Thank you so much. Apart from the excellent presentation, I loved your pictures.
Thanks. It all goes to my team, actually. It's not me making them.
Great team.
Definitely.
Great. Thank you so much. So currently we don't have questions in the chat, but I would like to take the opportunity to ask questions that we hear from the user groups.
Okay.
The members that come to us. So one question is, for example, so why should they build their agents on top of BTP?
Good question. There's plenty of options out there. I would say everyone is claiming that they can do it as well. Think carefully, right? Just go 1 year back, 1.5 years back. Everyone thought, okay, we should do access to an LLM, or we can do that on our own. You don't need to have that in enterprise settings somehow controlled or governed. Meanwhile, we know better because there are plenty of models, and we understand how important governance is and what we want to access and see the different strengths. Now, when we go for agents, it becomes even more complex. So having an agent running on the BTP means it sits where your data sits, it sits where your process knowledge sits, and we have already, with the GenAI Hub, an access layer to the LLMs and everything needed behind that is secure, reliable, and really is used for the embedded AI functionality as well. So the benefit out of it that you get is that don't worry about all the complexity that actually hits after implementation, because you get it in your known environment and you can trust in it. You already do.
Great, thank you so much. Just a quick question. Maybe you can unshare, then people can see both of us.
Doable?
Perfect. Yes, thank you.
Very good.
Now another question is, you just mentioned, that sometimes people are, have questions, let's put it this, are in doubt about, the mix between AI and humans and things like that. So not going to what you went, but similar. So if you consider AI agents and humans in the loop, but is there a possibility that the human is a bottleneck? How do you?
Very good, very good point. I had that discussion actually last week on a partner event, and it's very, very interesting because it's easily to assume that, I don't know, be in a role of a CIO team, the entire team around the CIO, and you have plenty of agents running because you like it, you build them, you use them. And then from a user experience perspective, so from a UX and UI perspective, how do you engage with these agents when the agents run into trouble? So how do you troubleshoot? Let's assume an agent, I said it's like an autonomous car driving. What if an accident happens, right? It should not, but actually it can. And when these agents are coming back to me as a user more often, because I now can run 20 in parallel, right? Or even more, then that's even worse than answering the question of one of my employees, where they say, okay, it's just one at a time, right? It's their time and my time. But now it's 20 agents getting at me in a speed that is unmatched. So that becomes a real issue. I think from a UX perspective, it's an interesting problem to solve, how we keep the human in the loop. But it also shows again that you really need to think carefully. Having thousands of agents that actually could be simple workflows, deterministic workflows, not the best idea. Make sure that you have the agents really there where you tackle the complex problems, and the easy ones you keep with the tools that you already have. And then with Joule, we have one integration layer that makes conversation more easy, right? And we have one inbox within SAP. You have the integration to, I don't know, Microsoft Teams. So it goes into a more natural interaction, but we really need to make sure that we are not becoming the bottleneck. And that goes back to how we govern the agent and how we plan it. So from the thought process, you really need to think of it early on when you start working with it, because you don't want to put plenty of agents out there that are actually not doing complex work, but getting more often back to you with kind of easy questions and then keeping you busy instead of working for you.
Very important topic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we have questions. I have a customer who is looking to implement an AI Joule agent for procurement similar to the demo. So they have S4 2023 on-prem without RISE. can they implement the solution based on BTP only?
Currently discussing it. It's wait till Sapphire, and then we can say more about it. At the moment we're discussing it. The standard agents are part of Joule. No doubt. Custom agents can be built on BTP, even if it is not RISE. But if you can do it in the same way, or what you need to have in addition is still something that we currently discuss. So just wait a few more weeks. Actually, not much anymore.
Not much.
I'm already getting excited about it.
Okay. Thank you. Do we need to have another session then after May?
Happy to do so.
Okay, thank you. So the next question, can we use Joule Studio to connect with the on-prem S/4HANA system as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Simply yes.
Super. And finally, does AI agents, can AI agents connect with LLM running on-prem?
Not sure if I get the question right. Is the LLM running on-prem means local hosted model? Then yes, if it is included in the GenAI hub, what is technically possible, so you can do that. If that's the question, you can do it. Yes. So if it is related to the model being on-prem, then you need to include the model in the GenAI hub as a local model, then it's possible.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And no further questions in the chat, but I have one actually. So as SAP runs SAP, right?
Yes.
How are we using AI agents, and do you have any examples, and how do we get value from that?
I just shared one, right, with the pipeline agent. Is something that we are already using within my unit, in particular. There are more cases where we start using it and giving it also experimenting a lot in all the different LOBs. We started with cases like these, and as soon as we make them available for our customers, we probably also will be customer zero, as our IT teams are always really eager to implement them. So they are also already scratching their fingers and can't wait for finally getting more and more. But we already started with some in different areas. And I just shared this one example for the pipeline agent.
Great, thank you so much. There is one question. I mean, it's difficult, any pricing questions, whatever, is impossible to answer in this session, because it's always very local, specialized, and whatever. But maybe you still want to comment on the fact how, I mean, it says about BTP is already expensive, but and how expensive will agents be?
Interesting thought. I would say, typical consulting answer, it depends. if we are talking about custom built agents, then of course you need to think about consumption. So if you build it for a complex scenario, it consumes more tokens, so it will be more expensive. But even there, I would apply the same logic as probably holds true for the standard agents, that just think of it in a way of what's the value that I'm getting out of it versus what's the cost. And there's a big difference to what we know from the past. In the past, typically compute power and so on was something that engineers kept very low, and we have a good feeling for it right now. I had a discussion with some people just recently, and they say, hey, this agent cost me €2.50 per run, just from a token consumption perspective, not from a pricing perspective, just from a cost perspective. If we then started into, okay, is that a good agent? What is the scenario? And so on, they easily came at, it probably saves me the work of 1 FTE per week. And if we think in that terms, then the 250 is nothing for compared what you're going to say. So just make sure that you build agents for complex scenarios where it really helps you to gain value out of it, where you really can have an impact. And then I don't know, the run cost, the consumption cost is probably neglectable in that regard. But it's important to think of it early on, especially when you're building custom agents. That's also why I said it's not a good idea to make every workflow that I can do deterministically, following a clear rule set, into an agent just because of the technology. Simply don't do that. It's always cheaper to go with the deterministic workflow if you can, but if you go for a complex workflow with agents, then make sure that you have the value for it. We could actually run the entire session on that and how to determine the value out of an agent. We have some great app house workshops on that, and also my team did some research. So happy to give some guidance there. And then the cost is not so much of a topic if you can show the value.
Now, there is one more question, but I would like to take that one offline because we are already on top of the hour. So I will take that question definitely, and it will be answered in the comments area underneath this video. And with this, a huge thank you again, Jochen, for your excellent presentation and for answering all the questions.
Thanks for having me.
And a big thanks to all attendees for joining us. I hope you got a lot of value from this session, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great day.
That's it from my side. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.